Hi, it's AJ, your host for a Little Wisdom Wednesday. Why do we suffer? This is a serious question. What's your suffering? What are you suffering from? Maybe you're physically exhausted after working long hours every day, or you've recently gone through surgery or survived from a serious accident. These are forms of physical suffering, right? Or maybe you've lost someone you love. You're grieving a breakup. You feel betrayed by a close friend. These are psychological and emotional sufferings, right? Of course, the list is endless. Sometimes it feels like we experience more suffering than happiness in our life. From the Buddha's teaching, suffering, dukkha, is deeply tied to the nature of our existence. We are composed of mind, consciousness, and mental factors, and body, matter, what Buddhism calls the five aggregates. So these five aggregates are constantly changing, and because they're impermanent, they're subject to aging, illness, death, grief, and psychological distress. The Buddha taught that life, by its very nature, involves a suffering, not as a pessimistic view, but as a realistic understanding of existence. Yet our mind struggles to fully accept this. Psychologically and emotionally, we resist this truth. We habitually deny, distract ourselves from it. We don't clearly understand why these are resources of suffering. According to the Buddha, the origin of suffering isn't external, it lies within our own minds. He identifies three root causes, often called the three poisons or three unwholesome roots. Tanha, craving, wanting things to other than they are. Dosa, aversion, rejection, or restricting reality as it is. Moha, delusion, not seeing clearly, ignorance of the true nature of things. These mental defilements shape our thoughts, speech, and actions. Here's how it plays out. We know intellectually that we can escape aging or sickness, but we still pursue forever young, try our best to stay young desperately as longer as possible, and compare ourselves to younger people. When we notice wrinkles, a weakened body, or our energy fading, we suddenly feel insecure or depressed. Our self-esteem drops. We might feel overlooked by younger people or regret choices we made or didn't make. We yearn for youth again. We suffer because we crave pleasure and resist discomfort physically, mentally, and emotionally. We suffer because we chase permanence in a world that is always changing. We suffer because we mistake impermanent, selfless nature of life for something fixed and personal. Only when we begin to see through these illusions can we soften our suffering and begin to truthfully free ourselves. This is why the Buddha's teaching begins with the Four Noble Truths. There is dukkha, suffering. Life is marked by suffering, unsatisfactoriness, or stress. And there is a cause of dukkha. We crave, cling, and we are ignorant. There is an end to dukkha, liberation, nibbana is possible when we truly and wisely let go of this dukkha and be free from ignorance. Dukkha is not just about obvious pain like illness or grief, it's subtle too. Even when we have good things, there is anxiety about losing them. Even in comfort, there is a boredom. Even in love, there's a fear of heartbreak. This is the suffering of change, and there is also the suffering of conditions existence. Simply being in a body that ages, a mind that fluctuates, and a world that is uncertain creates unease. We also suffer because of our distorted perceptions. We see things as stable when they are not. We expect others to act how we want. We expect the body not to age. We try to control things that are uncontrollable. And when reality doesn't match our expectations, we suffer. The way out and let go of begins with the right view, which is the first path of the Noble Eightfold. Understanding that suffering is not punishment It's not personal. It's a universal condition that can be understood. It shows us where we are clinging. It shows us where we misunderstand. When we sit with suffering, not as something to push away, but as something to observe with awareness and compassion, starts to transform. We begin to experience a shift from resistance to understanding, from confusion to clarity, from bondage to freedom. In other words, there may be countless reasons why we suffer, but at the root of it all, suffering is created by the mind. When we are caught in attachment or trapped in our own thoughts, certain things feel impossible not to get angry about, impossible not to suffer from, impossible not to feel sad about. But when we take a step back and see the bigger picture, when we shift our perspective, there is, in truth, no reason to be sad, angry, or distressed. To do this, we must learn to see things as they truly are. Only then we can free ourselves from the views and thoughts that bind us. To be human is to experience suffering, but to walk the Dhamma path is to understand suffering so deeply that it no longer binds us. Buddha said, "I teach only two things, suffering and the end of suffering." That's not a pessimistic view. Again, it's a path of freedom, a roadmap to liberation. Buddhism is ultimately about life, how to live with freedom, happiness, and peace, and how to face death with wisdom and grace.